social worker to building a real estate brokerage. We're going to interview Ashley Jennings today. She's going to show you how you can grow your paycheck and become pay not popular with real estate investing. In just 18 months, Ashley has syndicated over $15 million in development funds. With these funds, it have helped her company to be able to renovate distressed and vacant properties and put them on the market. Guys, this is huge. Ashley is literally turning neighborhoods that you wouldn't dare live in into desirable, affordable housing that now can increase the values of those communities. So help me welcome Ashley Jennings. Hey, Ashley.
Hey, thank you so much. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having you. I'm looking so forward to this interview that we're going to do with you today. It's been requested and waited on, so thank you for being here. We're going to hop right in. Why real estate?
Well, I guess the why real estate question, I sometimes when I'm asked that question, I don't really know, I guess, the best response, because it definitely wasn't something that I can honestly say, hey, my family did it, or I knew people that did it. I did not. I ended up getting into it. Just some of my friends were doing it, and they brought it to my attention a few years ago. Didn't really take it seriously. I'm like, no. I was one of those people. I'm a big student, so I stay in school a lot. I have 2 master's degrees, so I think I was at the University of Tennessee finishing up my social work degree, and I stopped it midway through. I ended up I met Rashana Scott, and I met her and a few other people in the business. I'm like, wait a minute, I do think I probably do want to figure out how to do real estate. At the time, everybody was wholesaling, so that was like the thing. And I was like, okay, cool. At the time, I didn't have my license. I had no desire to get my real estate license. So ended up meet Rashana. She had a class. I took a course, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I took a few other people. Jerry Norton, he has a great program. Pace Morby has a great class. I was listening to him. Jerry Norton was the one that I was listening to very heavy. And I'm like, okay, this is it. This is all I want to do. I'm going to get into real estate. And I've been doing it ever since. So it wasn't something for sure just like as a kid and had a dream. It was not like that.
Which is really important. That's a good story as well, because it's all about who you are around. One of the things you mentioned was people around me was doing it. So you were able to be exposed to real estate. So make sure you guys are around positive people that can influence you and that can impact you to make changes in your life. So I want to go give them some background, so they know from social work to real estate. But let's talk about, what is your career like prior to real estate?
So prior to real estate, I did social work for almost 10 years. I was a supervisor for the government in Tennessee. So I predominantly work with kids who were dealing with adoptions. Severe abuse cases is what I handled the most. So I did that for almost 10 years. Prior to that, I was in law enforcement. So I was a police officer for a little bit. Prior to that, I was just working your regular warehousing jobs. I played basketball, decided I did not want to continue to pursue that as a career. Ended up leaving I literally left college, decided not to play ball. So I came back home. I was going to Maryland. Came back home, really didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. Started working in a warehouse job. And I remember telling my stepdad, because he worked there too. So I'm from a very small city. Okay. Shelby is very small. So it's more textile, warehousing community. So pretty much you either are a professional or you work at a warehouse. We don't really have a middle ground where I'm from. So at that time, I didn't have any degrees, so it was a warehouse. So I worked at Walmart Distribution Center for 5 years. I had a 5-year plan. I even wrote it down. I have the 5-year plaque from Walmart still too. I told them I'm gonna finish college and I'm gonna leave here in 5 years. So I literally worked from 4:30 to 3 in the morning, and I went to college at a local college in Shelby from 8:30 a.m. to 2. And I did that from Monday to Thursday for 5 years. Once I got out of college, I got a job working in corporate America, and I was doing that up until I got into real estate.
Awesome. Make the plan, write the plan, and make it plain.
Make the plan right
What
down.
they say, right? That's how
I
you make
literally have
sure.
always been that way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you make sure you accomplish it. So going from corporate America to real estate, how much money did you need to make that transition to get started in real estate investing wise?
Okay, so if you look up the salary for a social worker or even law enforcement, you know they don't make any money. I mean, we literally make, I think I was making, when I first started, barely $35,000 a year. And believe, like, I was fresh out of college, so to me that was a lot of money. I didn't know no different. I didn't know anybody doing anything differently. So to me, oh, I made it. I got my career. They got good insurance. I'm good. And then I realized, okay, wait a minute, this ain't enough damn money. It's not. I ended up, what changed that mindset was I adopted my cousin from foster care. And so when I became a parent, like at the time, it was just myself and my wife at the time. So it was too grown. Like, it was just us. I mean, we knew how to pretty much balance ourselves at the time. And then when you throw a kid in the mix, I was like, oh, this is a lot different. I do need more money. Like, he needs things. So that's what shifted that mindset from, oh, okay, wait, this isn't enough money. Now I have my family is growing. Now I do need to figure out how to make more money. So that's what shifted that mindset over to real estate too.
Awesome. And when you first started, so going from that $35,000 income to now real estate, which is totally foreign to you, new to you at this point, to do your first deal, how much money did you need?
I didn't need any. So
Go back. How much money did you need for your first real estate deal?
I didn't need any. I didn't have any. So I'm gonna tell you what happened. I think I mentioned it already. I try to make sure I mention her name every time I do an interview because she really did help me kind of bridge the gap between when people are online saying they're not using their own money, either they're lying or I haven't figured it out. I'm like, what am I missing? Kid you not. This is not, I swear, you can ask Rashana. I did a class.
And let me give a plug to Rashana really quick, guys. So if you have followed the True Investor brand or any of my brands, you know Rashana was at our real estate conference 5 years ago. And the topic that I had her discuss was funding, raising capital, right? How to close deals without using your own money. So, hey, Rashana, how are you, girl? You've seen us probably on boats together. You've seen her at our conferences. Shout out to Rashana.
Listen,
follow our
Rashana is she is amazing.
You're going to see some of that content from her as well.
Yeah, she is amazing. Hands down, one of the most amazing people in the business. So literally, just because I know I can't take up too much of your time, but it was literally a conversation. I ended up finding a property off market, and I'm like, I'm not losing this damn deal. I'm gonna close this deal. It took me, and I'm not over exaggerating, it was over 20 lenders telling me no, and they wouldn't do it because it was rule. They didn't want to deal with Shelby at all. I'm like, damn it, I can't even get a lender. So that's why you hear me talk so much about interviewing lenders too. It's important. If somebody, it's not if somebody funded, it's just who, and finding out who is that person, who is the company going to do it.
And how many lenders did you go to? I heard it, but I'm
it was well over 20. I know for a fact I hit 30 before I ended up talking to the one that I'm going to mention here in a little bit. But let's go back to your original question. You said, Ashley, you didn't have to have any money. I did not. Rashana showed me how to use a promissory note. So we use so my private investor comes in with the money, the down payment, my closing costs, my interest-only payments. We do a promissory note for the subject property, and they get X amount of return on that money. So when I learned that, I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. I know people with money. My best friend is a doctor. My best friend is my biggest investor. Called her. At the time, Jason and I was working together as well. He was a close friend of mine. He was actually a home inspector that I use quite often. And he was like, well, I want to invest too. So he wired. I think at the time, I raised 6 figures in it was like 2 weeks. My best friend sent $60,000. He sent $40,000. And I bought 5 properties in less than 8 months. So what we did was, because where I'm from, my properties, I do brick ranches. If you follow me, I only do 3 bedroom, 1 bath, under 1,200 square foot brick ranches. That was another thing Rashana told me to make sure I focused on. In the beginning, I did not listen. I was hard headed, and I'm just out here just doing what I wanted to do. She's like, "What did I tell you in the beginning?" So now I have gone back to focusing on my niche, and I did, and it has made me be able to repeat over and over the same product, the same system over and over. So, and where I'm from, you can buy houses for 40 or 50,000. We renovate them, put about 70, 80,000. I mean, full good. I bring them all the way up to the point where I don't put anything out there as a product for me that I wouldn't live in with my own family. So we fully update them fully, and we put them out there, and they can sell for $235 in my market. So the goal was to be able to make it to where we did at least 4 to 5 back to back.
Okay.
I was still working my full-time job. I did not quit. At the time, my wife did, so that was our plan. She would quit first because she managed the financial part, because she's always worked in commercial banking. So she handled the draws, the financial pieces. I did the real estate and all that. And then, of course, I have a project managers and all that to handle construction. So what people don't know is that my primary house and my residence is in Tennessee. I fixed and flipped and built all these homes, and I haven't lived in that city. So we have a system. We have portals that we can look into. That way, whenever I'm traveling, I can look and make sure progress is still being made. So our systems are all the same, even from 4 years ago. But I say that to say I did not quit my job until I was comfortable. Although I had the money, I did it when I was ready. So there was certain things I needed. My health insurance, I needed to make sure I had that in place first, because I had a family. So I did that first. I got private insurance, paid it up for a little bit. I got to make sure our life insurance was in place, because remember, I'm leaving corporate America. So all those wonderful things that we like about corporate America, I wasn't going to have. So I'm like, okay, I need all these things first. So I did those things first. I kept my job until we at least had 6 figures in the bank. I was not big up on that 6 months. 6 months go by fast as hell. Like, this year is almost over.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I don't want to go off of that either. I'm going to go off of making sure I didn't have any consumer debt at that point. Credit card debt was gone. I didn't have any. I made sure that when we fixed and flipped and we got things, we literally paid stuff off as we were going. Then that way we were comfortable. I don't have a lot of monthly expenses. I didn't change my lifestyle either. That was another big thing that we talked about, and I still don't do. My lifestyle has stayed the same. I don't do a whole lot. So that was the biggest thing.
One of the things that is really important that you mentioned is that real estate investing does not mean quit your job. There are coaches and people that's saying start investing today, leave your job. You can invest and grow your paycheck while you're still working. This could be your fund money. This could be your disposable money. This can be your pay my consumer debt money off. Now, it could be your transition to quitting your job, but investing in real estate doesn't automatically equate to quit my job. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because so many people, they don't, or they delay starting investing because they're like, I went to school to be a doctor. You can invest even though you're a doctor, right? Either you can invest yourself if you want to do the hard work, or what Ashley did and her friend did with her, you can use your money to invest with an experienced investor and also make a return that way. So I'm glad that you shared that. So how many years have you been investing at this point, Ashley?
I bought my first property when I was 19. So I definitely wasn't, it wasn't like I was, oblivious to owning real estate. I knew I needed to, and we bought our first at 19. So since 19, I've been looking at real estate, purchasing it, but in the extent of investing like intentionally, has been about 5 years.
5 years. She's been able to build an empire over the last 5 years. So literally what you're hearing that she was able to accomplish, you too can accomplish in a very short amount of time if you are strategic, follow instructions. If you have a coach, listen, okay? Follow instructions, but then take action and execute. Because what I'm hearing, you said in a very short period of time, 4 to 5 back to back to back to back. So you can,
I'm literally back to back. I came out swinging,
which is really, really good. Okay, so We went over kind of the steps of you building your brand, which
Mhm.
was kind of that foundation steps. Where are you now?
So to me, there is a process to investing. I posted this a couple of days ago. I do think that there's levels, like you climb different levels, right? So I made a post the other day, and I think I mentioned, I don't want to misspeak, because I'm probably I'm trying to pull it up, but it was like, first, when you first start, you're a freshman, you're wholesaling. When you are a sophomore, you're moving more into the fix and flips. Then when you get a junior, you're holding on, you're renting some at this point, because you recognize that that lump sum of money is great, but what happens when you're ready to retire? You don't want to keep flipping houses and you're 80 years old. So now you're holding as a junior. Well, then when you're a senior, you're in development, you're building, you're doing commercial spaces. So now that's where I'm at. I'm at my senior level. I'm building, I'm developing. We're moving into the commercial spaces as well. I'm just creating our own chains of stores, and trying to identify that more in African American communities. I talked about that last night on my live, where in most of the commercial chains you'll see in the plazas, in Black communities you see your check and goes, your hair stores, your liquor stores. You don't see a lot of credit unions and things like that. Well, in white communities, well, I'm not gonna say white. I'm just gonna say I see more of this in communities that are not people of color. You see your Publixes, you see your Starbucks, you see your Chick-fil-A's, you see your Kroger's. They have healthier produce. So my goal for my business is, and I just talked to my team this morning and told them, we're not gonna do that. We're going to bring the Kroger's and the Publixes and the Clean Eats and all these things to our communities too, that we're updating and we're building anyway. So we need to get in those realms. So that's what we are. We're in that senior phase of, now we need to double down and come back in and make sure that we're doing the bigger pieces that our communities need.
I love to hear it. I love that growth. We call it a growth scale here for True Investor, and understanding that when our investors are looking at someone that's at a senior level, hey, no, you're not doing commercial. It's levels. We all went through a phase. I've done some wholesaling, some flips, and now I'm doing commercial. Most people don't start at commercial. They do build up to it, which also builds confidence, right?
Yes, there you
Need
go.
the
Yep.
confidence in order to successfully invest. Most of this, you could start at commercial if you had the confidence, but most people don't have the confidence required and the experience required for a commercial. So by starting, like you said, that freshman level, we call it a growth scale here, but by going through that growth scale, you have what you need by the time you get to that commercial senior level.
There we go. Yep.
I love that. I love hearing that you're doing amazing things in your community. One of the things that really touched me is about the impact, right? Bringing the healthier stores, the better stores, which we all know identify gentrification, okay? Um, how does your business model kind of, when it comes to impact, what focus do you put in terms of your business model on making that impact in your immediate community?
I think I think that's 100% of my business. Um, the reason why I wanted to do back home was because, well, this is kind of some backstory for me. I was in foster care as well. I'm the oldest of seven. So I come from a family, we don't have any money. I was the very first person to graduate from high school in my family. That speaks to the levels of what that looked like and what I was working with in regards to, I didn't have somebody really to look at and say, hey, I want to be this person in my immediate family. I didn't have it. So I wanted to make sure that whenever I was able to get to that level, I can provide that same thing to the kids that look like me. So, and the only way you can really do that is by representation and actually doing the work and being intentional about it. So going back home for me was huge because I played ball. Everybody knows me there. So it's easier for sphere of influence and being in the business as well. Like business, of course, you want people to know you, right? That's the purpose. That's how you keep your business. So I think the impact there, that's the biggest part for me. And then paying attention to, because I went to every school back home because we moved so often. So I want to bring stable housing to my community so parents they can stay in one space. It's affordable. They can live there. The kids can go to a school. That's another big thing. They're shutting down a lot of our schools back where I'm from. And a lot of that is because we have so many damn distressed properties and vacant lots. You can't pour into public schools with no real estate. So that's another big thing. Like we need to focus on that. Brain this housing, fix up these existing homes to where we can. Our kids, they're gonna be leading us at some point. We can't all just sit back and talk. Hell, somebody got to do the work. So, and that was my biggest thing. Like we're doing a lot of talking. And this is when I was in my I started when I was 30, 29, 30. So I just turned 36. So meetings and talking, I don't do a lot of that. We're going to meet, let's have a solution and let's do the work. So that's the impact for me.
So as an impactful investor, it comes with some challenges. What have been your biggest challenge?
My people. I'm not gonna lie on this podcast. I swear it is our people, man. I think that's probably the most difficult part. But I have learned as a leader, is in the face of my company, I cannot understand for the life of me. Just a sidebar. I can never understand why people would say, "I don't want to be the face of the company. I want to play the background." And I used to be like, "That's crazy. Why do you want to do that? No, get out here so the world can know you." Now I see why, because we do take the most hits, and you do have to be in emotional, intelligent space all the damn time. Like it's a constant beat up sometimes. Meaning when I say our people, meaning I see. I don't think they think I know this, but I do. When people share my stuff, they'll say, "Hey, well, she only paid $30,000 for that house." They don't have a clue the amount of money I put in to renovate them. And then, she's marking them up and selling them for way too much. She's doing the gentrification, but she's talking about it. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I've never displaced anybody. Matter of fact, I use my own money and I put them in new homes. I never close anything unless somebody has somewhere to live. I don't displace anybody. My thing for my company, it has always been the same. If you cannot help people, you do not hurt them. Period. And if I find that you are, I'm not working with you. And that's just it. But it is very difficult to get our people to understand the financial parts of it. So I stopped over explaining that and just showing what I'm doing and doing my part at the end of the day. Lawsuits, I've had those things happen to me. I've won them all, but I've had those experiences where people, I'm learning I have to practice more discernment in my business. Just because somebody wants to work with me and they're so excited, that does not mean that we're a great fit. All money isn't good money. Just because you have a lot, that does not mean we're going to partner well and do well. That doesn't mean you're going to practice with the same integrity that I'm going to practice with. So just being more intentional about who I decide to partner with and do things with is my biggest thing now. But it is difficult being the owner in the face of the company, because you do take a lot of the hits. And they're financial hits. I get paid last. Everybody eats before me. Like right now, we had a meeting this morning. I'm paying all these invoices. I haven't been paid yet this week. I don't get paid till next week. And my invoices are, I still got to pay them. My systems still have to be paid. It doesn't matter what I'm going through financially. Everything still has to run. And that's, I think, as an owner, learning that at the end of the day, somebody's vision is attached to yours. Don't get in your feelings so much about what people say about you, because it's just a part of it. Just do what you're supposed to do and do it the right way. You'll be fine. But you're definitely going to deal with some of those things. It just happens.
Yes. And, one of the things is that just understanding it pays to be the boss. The profit that you receive at the end of a transaction or at the several transactions is a reason why you receive a larger sum, right? Because of the challenges you had to endure to even make it to the finish line. So if you can just make it to the finish line, you can win. But it pays to be the boss. Like, there will be some challenges, and
there will be.
Have your legal in deck, have your emotional intelligence, and if you can just make it to the finish line, you can see that pot of gold is what I kind of call it. But it certainly comes with challenges. Even for myself, I've experienced challenges. Any successful person in business, including yourself, I think you can co-sign this. You will have challenges. Absolutely.
Yes.
There's no way around becoming successful with no challenges. I've never heard of that. Have you?
I have not.
Okay. Never heard of how to become successful with no challenges. So prepare ahead, right?
Yeah. I think too is very interesting too. If you've never owned a business, you learn so much about yourself as an entrepreneur? Do you feel like you've learned a lot about yourself as an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. Every single
Yeah.
day, you have to grow. As an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a mother, as a wife, you understand that it requires a different skill set from you. And when you're building a
Mhm.
business, I can relate that as a mother too, it's very similar to birthing and raising a child. You have to mold and train your team members to produce the results that you want. Everyone normally say they're experts. You will realize that being an experts do not mean that they know how to build your business the way you desire. So it takes a
Mhm.
lot of improving my emotional intelligence, improving my leadership skills, getting additional training of, okay, if they're not getting it right when I said A, let's try B. Let's try a different delivery. Let's try a different way. And then sometimes it doesn't matter what you do with them. They don't get it right. And then we have to
It
part
doesn't work.
ways, right? It doesn't
Yep.
work. But I certainly think that starting a business, if this is your first time starting a business, you will have some growing pains, but you have to go into it knowing there will be growing pains. My children, I have two, and I've never been a mother before when I had them, right? So I didn't know what I was doing. They have their own personalities. They like things a certain way, and I had to adjust while still molding and raising them to be productive children at this point. It's the same for the business. That's how I look at it. When you're growing this business, it's a new baby. Everything is the first time it's happened in that business. So you're pushing yourself, you're learning more, you're expanding yourself in more ways than I can even describe. But if you
Yes.
build a successful business, you would have grown as a person. There's no way around it. You have to improve yourself to have a successful business.
Absolutely.
Now, this was your first business out of corporate America, right?
Very first. Yes.
Very first. I know this is like a little bit of a roller coaster for you, right?
It has. It has been quite the ride. But actually, you know what? Though, I don't regret it. Like I love it. It, it's definitely different, but I am learning a lot about me. So that I think I love that more than anything. Like therapy is amazing, right? So we all go to therapy, but well, if you don't, you should. I think you definitely, for sure, all of us should have a therapist because it's almost like a foreign language. When I stepped into business, like so many things I learned I didn't even know, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what I need to do. So it definitely different, but it was my first, and I think um I never change anything that's not happened so far. I
I
mean, I think
love that.
it's been learning experience and it works. But I just gonna stay open. This gonna be my legacy right here.
I love that. And that transition from, corporate America, keep in mind, guys, we are corporate America. So what you are realizing is the transition from the they did this, they don't pay enough, you become the they immediately.
Yeah,
So your
yeah,
business is a corporation in America,
right.
which makes you corporate America. So you literally, all the complaints that you normally point at a manager and say you're the they. And now you
I
have
am
to
the
know
best.
how to address those issues. You have to know how to overcome those issues in order to build that sustainable business. So that transition, I would say you're 5 years in now, the first year, how was that transition for you the first year? And then at what point did you finally say, okay, I can breathe now, I'm in safe waters?
Well, I don't think I've been able to say safer waters yet. I think your business is like Gabby and I meet almost every Sunday, pretty much every Sunday, and I'm constantly looking at my org chart and deciding, what makes sense and what doesn't. Especially, with COVID and so many different things changing operating wise. So my first year, I felt like I had a hell of a lot of energy. I was on 10. I was gonna do whatever to get to where I need to be. Like I was hungry, so I felt like I was hustling. The systems, the getting the brokers under my firm, um, the CPA, the business attorney, because I have a business attorney. It was just hustling and trying to make sure I did everything right up front the first time. So that was important for me to have my team in place up front from the beginning. So I did that, which I did great. I still have those same people. Only thing, well, that's a lie. I let go. I fired my entire CPA team. I had to rehire them my third year. I did not like the service I was getting. So I ended up switching that. So that was a huge change for me. If you ever done that before, you know that's a big ass change. So my year 3, I felt like I was like this. And then coming out of COVID, I felt like I was like, woo. It was like a heavy hit because we had an influx of business. 2023, I'm sorry, 2022, 2023. I was closing 4 or 5 deals a month. And I'm like, what in the, like, it was like on 10. So I had to hire more brokers, which means I had to train them. So then I'm making the decision between, am I going to hire provisional brokers? Because in North Carolina, you can be a PB, but I'm responsible for everything.
Because not everyone is familiar with that. Let's go over what
it's a provisional broker in North Carolina. So in North Carolina, you're a provisional broker first, meaning like almost like you're on a 90-day with a regular corporate job, right?
Okay.
It's like a 90-day trial. So provisional brokers are the same thing. They have to practice, and they have to be up under broker in charge, which is what I am. So in North Carolina, we have a provisional broker, a broker, and then you have a broker in charge. So broker in charges are the actual people that own firms that allow people to hang their license under their firm. So I have brokers that have hung their license under my firm. And so what I ended up having to make the hard decision on was, if you're new, I'm not going to hire you under my firm. When I first started, I wanted to just train and just pour and pour and pour. Well, then I realized, okay, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to hire somebody to do that. It doesn't work for me and how I want to scale my company. So now what I've switched into org chart wise, I want everybody to come to me with a lot of experience to teach me and help me build and grow. So I've changed that. It shifted from a whole lot of coaching in my business. That's why I got classes. I can coach you over here. For my firm, I need everybody to be active and be knowledgeable and have a level of expertise to help me continue to grow. So that was one of the changes that I made, and now I feel like this.
When you're going from employee to I'm a CEO of a company, right?
Yeah.
When you become that CEO of that company or the manager or the head of the company, whatever title that you give yourself, your goal is to grow the company to be a profitable company. And you have to make those decisions.
And to me, I don't feel like I would have been able to do that had I continued what I was doing initially. So that's why I constantly check my org chart, my business plan. What was my original plan? Where am I at now? Because my goal at this point is to work myself out of my companies. I don't want to work in them. So I'm going to have a broker in charge over the next year. So I'm going to have a broker in charge. I'm just going to be the owner. The broker in charge is going to run it. I'm just going to be out here enjoying myself. So that's also be my goal over the next year or so, year or two probably. So to get myself to where I'm just working on it, not necessarily in the operations every day. I mean, although I do enjoy what I do because I still cold call, I still do all that. I enjoy it. So just freeing myself up and having people that can do and think like me is the reason why I shifted over. Because I wanted to free myself to do other things.
Okay, so that safety zone right now, you don't feel like you're at that woo side because your ultimate goal is to lead the company, but not work inside the company.
Yes, that's my goal.
Step back just so the viewers can kind of piece this together if they're looking for their first or their next deal and they're considering real estate. How long before, okay, I can pay my bills? That type of safety.
I think we're in a great market for wholesaling if it's done ethically. I think the challenge with wholesaling now at this point, we ran into this ethics part. But that's where I built the most of my money. I think wholesaling is great. I think you can close a deal. If you have a cash buyer and you have a deal that makes sense, you can close in 30 days. It just really just depends on what deals are you going after. I can say for me, I'll talk about my criteria to make it easier.
Okay.
So for me, currently, the only thing I'm going after is distressed homes. Like I have one in particular that I'm just going to tear down and build a new house. So I've started doing that. I'm paying you if the house is extremely distressed because the cost of material for certain things have gone up. I'm just tearing the whole house down and rebuilding. So Or if I'm looking at land, I'm looking at people who have owned the land for at least 10 years and they don't live in this state. Most times people don't care a whole lot. There's not a lot of sentimental value to it. They just want to get rid of it. Probate, I buy a lot of tax land from North Carolina. Because of my relationships here, like here recently, I bought a whole street from the county. They've owned it for a little over a year. They like the work I'm doing. They said, well, do you want it? Yes. Well, will you bring affordable housing? Sure. So I bought the whole block for $10,000. Well, I'm just going to turn around and just do a developer fee and let investors buy my lots. I build them, they get their return, and we move on. So I don't have to be the builder. I can be the developer. So I can make $10,000 off each lot. They get the HUD experience and get their investor profits back. And I'm still doing what I love. They're still getting their money. Everybody's on the same page. There's so many ways you can make money. So whenever somebody's saying that to me, my thought is always, real estate has a lot of different things you can do. Try not to focus so heavily on what's popular. Because right now, like, land is popular. Everybody want land. Not realizing that land can be just as bad of a purchase as a single family house, depending upon where you buy it. It can be terrible. So you have to be careful with that. Just because you buy land, that does not mean it's buildable. Just because you buy it, that does not mean you can build what you want to put on it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way. So just figure out your niche. Like what is that niche? Is it wholesaling? Is it fixing and flipping? For me, when I fixed and flipped, I did 3 or 4 back-to-back in 8 months. So I had deals closing back-to-back. So that was $40,000 to $50,000 every closing. Well, of course, I was going to reach my goal for my 6 figures in that same year. I also don't focus on money I haven't got yet. That's another big thing. Keep prospecting, keep getting contracts, keep closing. If you count the money that you ain't got yet, that's very difficult for you to keep that confidence. So I tell people all the time, until you at the closing table and that damn thing is recorded, it don't count. Focus on getting your next deal. Keep going. If you get multiple deals, if you lose a couple, it doesn't take you off kilter either. That was another thing I coached my agents on and myself. I used to get frustrated because it was so hard for me to get multiple deals in 1 month. I'm like, damn, what I got to do to get multiple deals? Well, I realized I wasn't prospecting enough. Well, that's why. So when I started closing 2 or 3 back-to-back, it didn't bother me. Like last week, I had 2 that didn't close. But it didn't impact me a lot financially either. I just kept going. Like,
always be prospecting.
Right. I always prospect to where you come, because again, it's the emotional intelligence part. We're all human. When deals don't close, we're all like, ugh. Like it used to beat me up to the point where my confidence would drop. I didn't want to cold call. I'm like, no. Don't focus on that. Just keep prospecting and keep going. You'll be fine.
Awesome. And, one of the things that's really, I think newer investors, experienced investors as well, what you see Ashley do, what you see Charmaine or Attorney Robinson do, okay? That's from our work ethic. So when we talk about our runway to our first $100,000, our runway to our we're safe number, it depends on your work ethic. If you have our work ethic, you can make it there fairly quickly, is what we're trying to show you. That this doesn't have to be 10, 20, 30 years. You can have success in real estate fairly quickly if you have the work ethic and you do the work, right? Learn the information that you need to learn. Immediately after learning, you need to execute, right? Learn, earn. In order to earn, you have to execute, repeat the cycle. That's kind of what we teach here. Learn, earn, repeat that cycle. And that keeps you, like you mentioned, about your level of confidence. When you lose a deal, if you don't have anything else in your pipeline, you lose some confidence. If your pipeline is loaded, you're like, shoot out another one. It's coming back to the back, right?
Right. That's what people are like, well, why you buying all this? Because I started buying land years ago. They're like, why you buying all this land? Wait a minute. You going to see? Because now I'm not concerned about my pipeline. I already know I have over 40 homes that I'm developing. And I have 200 that we lead development-wise for other people. So it's one of those things where it's like you have to literally just learn how to create your own product. And that's what I coach realtors on. Like, it's hard. Like, if you look at, I literally have realtors say the same thing every day. All these existing homes, like, there's not enough existing homes for the market. We need to fix this. Well, again, those are you just talking. Do it. Like, you riding past these same houses you're talking about that are distressed. You riding by these same new developments that we go to every day, and we're mad because the builders didn't do this or they didn't do that. Build your own stuff. And then when you say that, it scares the hell out of people because in their minds, well, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Tell me why. You tell me why, and then I'm gonna tell you why you can. I tell people that you can. It's not as hard as you think.
Part of
It's the way we think.
It's the way you think. See, part of being a real estate investor, it allows you to become a producer. If you're a producer, you will survive the real estate game.
You will.
If it's not there, produce it, right? Which is what you're saying. Produce it. Make the change that you see, right? The houses are distressed.
Time to think about it. You gotta think about it. Every meeting you've gone to, do you not hear the same thing? Inventory. There's not enough new construction.
But what about it, right? Oh, you are, as an investor, we make money. To be clear, we make money from solving problems. Distressed property, that means a neighborhood that is not getting taxes. Those taxes is used to fund that neighborhood. That means families that want houses that are not stressed. They don't have the inventory available. So as an investor, and there's other problems as well, but as an investor, you are the solution. You purchase that property like Ashley, that distressed property, you then renovate it. Why? Because when you sell that house to a family, a new family, the house is back on the tax roll. A family just got affordable housing that they love and they don't have to renovate themselves. You solved a problem. Because you solved a problem, you had a solution, you receive payment for that. You don't make money without solving problems. The quickest way to make money, I always say, is 1, via sales, 2, solving problems. Have that been true for you?
It is. Every house I've did fix it flip wise is because somebody had a problem. One guy had cancer. He needed to get out of it. There was one family, the dad died, and he was the sole provider, and she couldn't afford it. I got her out of the foreclosure process to where she didn't have that for the next 10 years. Got her into a new place. Every single house I bought, there's been a story and there's been a solution. I provided a solution somehow. So I think now it's one of those things where now the probate attorneys are emailing me and like I had Nicole Green, she's emailing, texting me now. I got 2 probates. They know you. They want you to help them. So now, because I've done a great job of providing those solutions and working with integrity, now I don't even have to do a whole bunch of prospecting like we talked about, right? Because you want to get to a place where your business is on referrals. That's the purpose of starting businesses. So now I'm kind of on that type of time where it's just now the good deeds are coming back. And it's all about, I hear that people talk about planting those seeds.
Let's talk about the planting of the seeds in terms of marketing and sales, right? So what does your pipeline right now? Is referrals because you have the results to prove that you know what you're doing. But starting off, when it came to your prospecting, how much money was you putting into prospecting, and how much money, and then how much time?
Time. Now I spend more time on my marketing than I ever have. Because if you go back and you look at the last few years, I did a terrible job of marketing. I do think, which sucks, is one thing, because I think I was kind of trying to hold back. I was still not as confident as I am now. But all the projects I've done, and we look back and Gabby and I just did this the other day. We're like, damn, we did no content. I shot nothing. Rashana flew in and we shot it. The very first flip I did, Rashana flew in and she made me shoot content. And after that, I really just kept doing the work and not doing a lot of content, which I'm so mad at myself for. But nonetheless, now I spend more on marketing, a few $1,000s a month on marketing just by itself. Earlier when I started, like I said, I didn't spend a whole lot. The great thing about being a realtor is we can partner with loan officers and they do what's called co-branding. So like my signage for my development projects, I'm not covering that because I have preferred partners that I've done business with and we do well together. They pay for that because that's marketing then. So then that's another great thing, having great relationships and partnerships with people you've done work with, bringing them in and saying, hey, can you pay for this sign? It ultimately helps all of us, but it cut my marketing costs tremendously. Lenders also allow you to do co-marketing with their flyers, and they do it for free. They'll do signs with you and everything. So I've learned to kind of leverage the relationships I've built over time, and we market together. But I only market with people that I've actually done transactions with, and I mean a few. Because the thing about it, the world is like today. If I did a screenshot today and put us on social media, most of the people in the world are gonna think, oh, they're really cool. They know each other. They do business together. Although we know each other, we are cool. We do no business together. But the world doesn't. They don't know that. So I don't attach my stuff to just everybody either. And if you don't do great business, I don't want to work with you because your business is gonna pour into mine if it's not done well. So I make sure I partner with people who have great customer service. Literally, we all need to align, from my people that work with me to the people that I do business with on a professional level to buy and sell. Everybody has to be on the same wavelength, or I just kind of I move away.
Yes, real estate is a relationship business. And
It is.
who you attach your name to is so important because you get one reputation. If you ruin that reputation, you're in trouble. And the last thing you want to do is to attach yourself to someone and you find out later they're scamming, they're stealing money from someone, or they're just doing business that's not in alignment with how you do business. So make sure getting started. What I love about real estate, you don't need a lot of money, right? She said this twice now. I asked the question of follow up, right? How much money did you get started with? None. I use other people's money. How much did you need for marketing and sales? None. I use leverage. So you can get started. This is one of the things I love this about real estate, okay? Because I'm going to do another video to do the breakdown of what it takes to start other type of businesses. It's very expensive compared to real estate. Real estate I love because you can get started in real estate. You can make money in real estate. You can be successful in real estate with very little out of pocket expenses to you. Now, money is needed, guys. Don't say Attorney Robinson, Ashley said no money is needed. No. We said you need to find other people with money. Okay?
Yeah. And you need to make sure when you work with the people that you do what you say you're going to do.
Yes. You get one shot at it. You get one shot. Yeah. Your reputation is so important. And in fact, what are your thoughts on this? A person can do 100 good deeds. And when you get caught up scamming on that one project, it can wipe your whole.
It don't even matter. It's done. It's done. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is it's my last name. That's all I got. So for me, I'm like, I don't give a damn. If something, I tell my team all the time. I'm going to give you an example. I am building in Tennessee. I'm not going to say the address, but I need the neighbors. I need a portion of her land. I really do need it. Like, it would really help me tremendously. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to talk to her. And I did personally speak to her. I had my team do it, but then I personally went. You can definitely tell that there is an alcohol abuse problem and a mental health problem. So what I could have done very easily is just quit claimed it, gave her a little couple $1,000s she wanted and moved on. What I said to my team was, come up with something else. Because in the event she does get to the point where she's sober and she goes and say, hey, I know I did not agree to this. Some of this stuff up front, we know what the hell we be doing. We know what somebody is capable of doing. Although, yes, does she go to work every day? Does she pay her bills? Does she seem like a sound person to do a deal? Yes. As my social work hat, am I being a therapist and having common damn sense? No. That could go wrong quick, and I'm not getting in that. So moments like that, I told my brokers at that time, come up with something else. And my engineer, I don't want her land. He's like, well, wait. She said, no. Well, y'all see that she's visibly drunk almost every time. The conversations have been very sporadic, not consistent, which means if I sign a contract with her, I'm going to have to probably stand in court at some point, potentially. Because that's another thing people don't understand. I can sell you some shit today in 2024, and somebody can sue you 10 years from now. It does not matter. There's no thing about it, because people can sue you just because they want to. So I try to make sure, and my team, they act the same. I'm very consistent, and I keep things the same way. You're going to do it how I tell you to do it. And if you do it the wrong way and we end up in a mess, I'm going to handle it because it's my company, but you're gone. Because I know how I practice, I know how I've trained y'all to be. So some of this stuff is very common sense. We just ignore it and try to just get the money. That's why I say all money ain't good money. Although having her land would help me tremendously, it ain't worth it. Because I know what that could look like.
And when you think ahead like that, you're thinking about your legacy, and you don't let one deal, one transaction, one fee ruin your legacy, ruin your reputation. I think that is so very important. Of, can I make 20,000? Can I make 200,000 on this one deal? Possibly. But why? If later that one
Right.
deal can ruin my legacy, it can ruin my company, it can undo 5-10 years of good work. I mean, so always, I think that that's a really, 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 really strong thing that I want everyone to understand. Always move with integrity. Always, when you're investing in real estate, it's sharks. Be aware of the sharks, but don't become a shark. Please don't become a shark, right? Because these are real people lives that you are affecting. This is a real serious business that you have an opportunity to do good in. So don't waste it doing foolishness, because you can make quick money, but it won't last. We're building sustainable businesses. So let's talk about the sustainability of your business. Is 5 years now. We're going to kind of go from start to finish of, okay, where I'm at now, my next level is kind of pulling myself out of my business, building a team, or what have you. 5 years from now, what does this business look like in terms of sustainability for you?
For me, 5 years from now, what I see my companies as is, my goal is to create a wheelhouse for investors, and brokers, and then my education side. So in my mind, I'll have a real estate firm that predominantly focuses on investors only. That's another big thing. Retail is great, and that's where I've made most of my success. I will always do retail, but the investors for me is where that long-term part come in the most. It allows us to continue to impact the existing homes, continue to build and expand that build out of North Carolina into Tennessee and Georgia, because I'm licensed in both of those states as well. So my goal at this point is to expand those out more. My attorney and I in Charlotte, we're working on a crowd fund, my very first one, which I have not publicly said anything about at this point. But starting that and doing that on a larger scale for me is important. So ultimately, it's going to be having agents up under my firm. They'll have teams. They'll focus a lot on development, and we're going to have just a ton of subdivisions. So that's really the biggest goal for me, and that's how we're going to keep that thing going. Some of them are going to be rental communities only. Some of them are going to be sale communities. So the rental side will be able to give that residual and passive piece for my company. And then the sales side, I'd be able to keep, of course, the sales and the marketing. When you list, we know listings make you last, and it keeps that marketing, your brand out there. So the sale, we're going to have the sales side always. But it's really just going to be a lot of investing and just development only.
Awesome. I love that you have a clear plan. You envision where you're going. Anytime you make a plan, you envision it, you can execute and make it a reality. So I love that. We're going to give our viewers some fire rapid advice, right? Non real estate investing, or it can be real estate investing, but this is the portion where we give them advice on what they need to do to grow their paycheck. Okay, we call it the grow your paycheck session. Okay, first one, give us a tip that you would tell all entrepreneurs.
And we were focusing on real estate, right?
It could be any tip. This is the I need to grow my paycheck, grow your paycheck segment.
Damn, that's a good question. I think if it was me, I think what has been very interesting that I've done is spread yourself out. Like, don't just focus solely on just selling real estate. And I say that because, develop it. I've made more money in the last 7 months to open up my development firm than I've had over the last 3 or 4. And I don't have to leave my house. So there were certain things that I wanted to make sure I don't like doing showings. I no longer do showings. I have showing agents. So the things that I don't like to do, I no longer do. Be intentional about the things you don't like to do. Be honest with yourself about your strengths and your weaknesses. Whatever your weaknesses are, you hire the best for that. Whatever your strengths are, write them down. Hire people that you can train to do that. Because remember I told you, like, our skills and how we think, our success is tied to somebody else's, right?
Yeah.
So we can't truly not train people, right? That's crazy to think that. So my strengths, I pour into the people who want to do those strengths. And that's what I train them on, because that's what I love to do. I've learned that I don't train well in things I don't particularly like to do. If it's clerical work, I'm not training you. I don't want to do that. My assistant can train you on that, though, because she knows how to do that. I've hired her and she's the best at it. So I think that's some of the biggest advice. Whenever you be okay traveling and doing certain things, like, for example, if you're asked to come speak somewhere and you are asked, not your whole damn team, you be comfortable being on that spotlight and being able to take in that success. You don't have to pull in everybody every damn time something great happens for you. Take in that shit because you are the owner. That's another big thing I wanted to do and talk a lot about, because we do that. Instead of, because we want to be grateful and humble. No, put that to the side and be okay when people appreciating your amazing work and you showing up and taking that appreciation for what you do. That way you can continue to grow and be your confidence. Because sometimes we get beat down so much, we can lose confidence. So taking those moments too. That's my advice.
Awesome. And Ashley love y'all. She gave you like 5 tips, okay? She love y'all. I love it. The next one. What do you do to keep your team happy?
We have weekly calls, and where we debrief and we talk about personal things, we talk about business things. And so I like to try to make it to where they look at me as a human and not just as a CEO. So just doing things like that. We do outings together. Like, we have a dinner coming up, so that everybody's excited about the dinner. They're sending me what they're going to wear, where they want to go afterwards. So I make sure I be intentional about that, because I'm not somebody who like to go out much. I like to be in my house at a certain time, but when we do events, I do go out with them. So, like, team building, things like that, to where they know I'm not people look at you as a CEO and just think you know how it is. And I don't want people to think that. So I try to make sure I get out and do things with them like that.
Awesome. The top SOP that every single investor needs in their business.
I think everybody should have an amazing business attorney.
You know I love that.
Yep, I think everybody that has proven to be something that has made me the most successful. You need every attorney has a specialized area. Hire the best in that specialized area. Like, I'm gonna give you an example to where it makes sense. My business attorney handles all my litigation things, all my contracts. The same real estate attorney does not. My real estate attorney does not handle my business affairs, for my contracts, things like that. I'm big up on conflict of interest and making sure everybody stays in a specialized area. If I'm dealing with, like, if I am in a lawsuit and I need to collect my money, well, I have a collection attorney for that. It is great, and he does that. So that's what I mean by separating those things and having them in those specialized areas. For my trust, I have a trust attorney. She's completely separate than everybody. So just understanding everybody has a role and you need them for something. Now, I can say the most important one of all those has been my business attorney. Contracts, answering questions when I need him, because you don't understand everything, and making sure that they're there and you build a relationship with them, meaning put them on retainer whenever you can, because you want to be able to text and call when you need to and ask questions. That has been the best thing for me.
Awesome. I love it. So we're going to end with this final question for you, Ashley. Tell us something that people don't know about Ashley in your company that you want us to know, and close out with that.
Something, well, it won't be about the company. I'll say something, I guess something that people don't know about me would be, I'm an artist. I love to draw. So doing development is kind of like me being able to me in my head as an artist, drawing is almost like I can draw and I can bring the stuff to life. So I think that's really dope. So I want to do my own comic strips for children and have financial literacy comic strips. So most people don't know that I draw because I don't post it a lot. I don't want people to know that I do because they're gonna turn it into a job. That's the one thing. That is the one thing that I can use, that I do, that I can decompress and kind of escape from the world. But that's something I do that most people don't know. So yeah.
So do not request Ashley to draw you anything. Don't go in her DM. Don't email her asking for no drawings. So Ashley, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. I think she's giving you guys a lot of valuable content, a lot of valuable advice and tips to help you become Pay Not Popular. This is the Pay Not Popular podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can do that below, as well as follow us on all of our social media channels, and check out our website at www.trueinvestor.co.
Thank you.